listen to the American news channel CNN weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter month.
Right, very good. Listen to the American news channel CNN's weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months. Okay.
The student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering what the weather would be like. Each night he would listen to the American news channel CNN's weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months.
Right, very good, very good. CNN's weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months. Okay.
The student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering what the weather would be like. Each night he would listen to the American news channel CNN's weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months.
Right, very good, very good. The student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering what the weather would be like. Okay.
The student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering what the weather would be like. Each night he would listen to the American news channel CNN's weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months.
Right, very good. The student was preparing for a trip to America. Okay.
The student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering what the weather would be like. Each night he would listen to the American news channel CNN's weather forecast to help him decide.
Very good. Keep going.
Was sorting he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter month.
No, not monk. You're a monk. I'm talking about the months. Months. He's not taking a monk to Minnesota. He's taking clothing to Minnesota. Okay. Months. Yeah. CNN's weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months. Each night he would listen to the American news channel CNN's weather forecast. Okay, very good. Go ahead.
The student was preparing for trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was
Wondering
what the weather
what the weather
would be like. Each night he would listen to the American news channel
Right.
To help him decide what
Clothing.
clothing he would need to take to
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Right.
The weather months,
In the winter months.
winter months,
That's exactly right. Very good. So the student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering, what's the weather going to be like? Each night he would listen to CNN's weather forecast to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months. Okay.
The student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering what the weather would be like. Each night he would listen to the American news channel, CNN's weather forecast, to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months.
Right, very good. Need to take to Minnesota in the winter months. Preparing, wondering what the weather would be like. Wondering what the weather would be like. Okay.
The student was preparing for a trip to America. He was going for 2 months and was wondering what the weather would be like. Each night, he would listen to the American news channel, CNN's weather forecast, to help him decide what clothing he would need to take to Minnesota in the winter months.
Right, exactly. Very good. Minnesota in the winter months. I was going to ask what CNN stood for, but I see they already beat me to it. Cable News Network. Right. Cable News Network. So, anyway, the student was preparing. He was getting ready, putting things together, starting to arrange things, preparing, getting ready for something. And what was that? It was a trip to America. He was putting his clothing aside, his papers aside, his books, whatever he was going to need, he was preparing. Are you preparing? Yes, I'm getting ready to go. For 2 months, woo, and was wondering, should I take this or should I take that? I don't want to take 4 or 5 suitcases. I just want to take maybe 2, not 5. So I've got to concentrate, make it shorter, less and less. Prepare. 2 months is wondering what the weather would be like. What would it be like in the United States? Well, if you're on the East Coast, it's one thing. If you're on the West Coast, it's another. Where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Minnesota. Oh, okay. Well, what months are you going to Minnesota? January and February. Wow. Nobody goes to Minnesota in January and February. Yikes. In fact, everybody from Minnesota goes to Arizona in January and February. But the student is going there and he's wondering what to take. And each night he would pay attention to the American News Channel, the TV channel, television channel, CNN, Cable News Network, for the weather forecast. What is it going to be like tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, at this time of the year, to help him decide what clothing he would put in the suitcase? And if he's going to Minnesota, In January and February, whoa, the temperatures very, very low. Cold, colder and cold. That's snow, snow, snow. Very difficult place to go in January and February. You want to try Florida, Arizona, Texas maybe, but not Minnesota. Because when you're in Arizona in January and February riding on the streets, every license plate seems to be ahead of you, Minnesota, Minnesota, Minnesota. They're all in Arizona to escape the freezing weather, very, very cold weather in Minnesota. In the winter months, November, December, January, February, maybe a little bit of March, very cold. Winter months. There are 12 months in a year. 12 months. Are there any questions about this?
What is the meaning of life in this sentence? Life.
Would be like
Would be life.
Oh, okay. He was going for 2 months and was wondering. He was thinking about it. Gee whiz, the weather.